This is the Health Powered Productivity Podcast. I'm Marcey Rader, keynote speaker and author of The Right Things First. Each episode is short, specific, and built to use right away, whether you're at your desk or walking between meetings. Let's get into it. Hey, welcome back to the show. I'm Marcey Rader, and this is the first in a short series of episodes about my new book, The Right Things First, a pocket guide to relentless prioritization. If you've been around here for a while, some of what we're going to cover will feel familiar. That's intentional. The podcast has been living some of these ideas for years. What I'm doing in this series is pulling the framework together in one place so you can actually use it as a system, not just a collection of useful episodes. This first episode is about the Relentless Prioritization Filter. It's the core tool in the book, and I want to walk you through the whole thing today. What it is, where it came from, and how to apply it at work and at home. I do use some hard language, but this is relentless prioritization, not soft prioritization or basic prioritization, and definitely not prioritization-ish. Let's get into it. So a while back, I was in Atlanta going through security. Long line, really long line, and I even have clear and pre-check. And it was obvious why. The TSA checkpoint was short-staffed. You may remember this time in our history and maybe suffered through it yourself. The government had brought in ICE agents to help manage the line. ICE, not TSA. Agents who are not trained in TSA responsibilities and are not authorized to do the actual screening. And I need to mention, TSA agents weren't at home painting their nails or playing Fortnite. They were working other jobs because they hadn't been paid in weeks. I digress. So, the line didn't move faster. It couldn't. The people added to the situation weren't equipped to address the actual problem. Now that stuck with me because I see it everywhere. We're constantly solving downstream. We add bodies, color codes, a new Slack channel, or another weekly check-in, and we call it a solution. Meanwhile, the actual source of the problem is sitting upstream, untouched, because addressing it is harder, slower, or politically uncomfortable. The TSA line wasn't the problem. The upstream staffing decision was the problem. Adding ICE agents to a TSA line is, as I put it in episode 123, improving the symptom before addressing the source. Or in this case, spaghetti at the wall, spaghetti with machine guns. Now today, I'm going to show you the full filter I've built around this idea because I think it gives you a replicable tool for almost every situation where you're tempted to optimize something that should actually be prioritized, removed, or rethought. Yes, optimization versus prioritization. Before I get into the filter, I want to make a distinction that I think gets lost. Optimization is about making something faster, leaner, more streamlined. Prioritization is about deciding what deserves to exist at all. Those are not the same thing. I teach a lot of optimization. I love a good system. But I've watched people spend enormous energy optimizing something that should never have been there in the first place. It's like spending hours researching for the right door to put in between offices when it should really be a wall. No door even needed. Here's a work example. Your team's chat channels are exploding. People are getting pinged all day. So you create more channels. More specific channels. You color code, you mute, you set up folders. That is optimization. And it might help, but it doesn't touch the real problem. which is probably that your team doesn't have a shared understanding of what channel is for what type of communication, or they don't have a project management system, so they're using chat for status updates that nobody should be messaging about in the first place. And if you had a project management system, a lot of those messages wouldn't exist. That's the upstream fix. Episode 41, Why Companies Will Never Get Out of Email Hell, gets into this directly. Short version, you can't manage tasks in an inbox or a chat tool. People are trying and they're suffering for it. And no, I'm sorry, Slack and Teams are not project management systems. The same thing happens outside of work. Say you're overwhelmed by everything that runs the household. You buy a planner. You download an app. You set up reminders. That's optimization. The upstream question might be, who actually needs to be involved in each of these decisions? Is there anything on this list that doesn't need to happen at all? Am I requiring baseboards be cleaned weekly when quarterly would do? Am I still doing my teenage kids' laundry when it's a life skill that would be better for me to teach them how to do it? That question is harder, but it's the one that actually reduces the load. Yes, pun intended. The Relentless Prioritization Filter. I've been developing and refining this filter for years, and it's now the framework at the center of the right things first. It's 3 questions asked in order, and the order matters. Question 1, what is the real bottleneck? Not the thing people complain about, not the symptom, the thing causing the problem. At TSA, the long line was not the problem. The upstream staffing decision was the problem. On your team, the chat channel being out of control is not the problem. No communications matrix is the problem, or no project management system is the problem. A bottleneck is anything that restricts flow. Think about what a bottle looks like. The neck is narrow. It doesn't matter how much is in the bottle if the flow is restricted at the exit point. If it's a bowl, a lot is going to come out when you tip it. When it's narrowed at the top, it's a different situation. And the same logic applies in business. You can have incredible talent, real budget, the right intentions, and still be stuck because nobody has named where the flow is actually breaking down. And that's the key part of it. Named. If we don't name it, we can't fix it. And here's what I've found makes that harder than it sounds. Bottleneck identification carries a social risk. Naming a bottleneck might mean naming a person. Maybe a system that leadership invested a lot of money in. Maybe a decision that came from the top. So people don't say it. They work around it. They build elaborate workarounds and call them solutions. What I've tried to create at Raider Co. is a culture where naming a bottleneck is genuinely celebrated, not just tolerated. We went through a stretch years ago where every Friday somebody had to come to the table with a bottleneck, and we eliminated so many in that year. And it's still a standing question in our processes today. It's on my agenda when I meet with my marketing specialists. The version I've seen work in teams is to make it a standing agenda item. Has anyone found a bottleneck this week? And ask each person to bring one, not just one to share among the group. So in the beginning, when you probably have like a lot of bottlenecks, ask each person every meeting, bring a bottleneck. And if you're a leader, you go further. Ask them to bring one that involves you. That's the move that actually changes the culture. Because when people see their leader say, I am the bottleneck here and I want to know about it, it opens the door for everyone else to say the same thing. You can also use brain writing before the discussion, where people write their observations independently before anyone talks. It surfaces the real answers before anyone can self-censor. And if you want to go further, quarterly recognition for the team or person who finds and solves the most bottlenecks. If you're rewarding what you want to see, you'll see more of it. Maybe give them a bottle of their favorite drink. Prioritize the bottlenecks, map out a timeline for tackling them, assign an owner, and get to it. And for the full version of this approach, including how we built that culture at RaiderCo, you can go to helloraiderco.com/celebrating-bottlenecks. I'll link it in the show notes. Question 2. What would remove it entirely, not just improve it a little? This question is harder, and most people skip it. We go straight to, how do we make this better? We don't ask, how could we make this not exist? Remember, this isn't prioritization-ish. It's relentless. Some things can't be removed entirely. I get that. But you'd be surprised how many can once you ask the question directly. If the bottleneck is decision approval, you might improve it by adding a faster escalation path. But you might eliminate it by creating a decision rights document so people know which decisions they already have the authority to make without asking. Give parameters like, if it will cost us less than X amount of money, you have the authority to fix it the way you see it. If it's over X dollars, escalate it. Or, you can decline meetings from X, but not from X. If the bottleneck is status meetings, you might improve them by making them shorter. Or you might eliminate them by putting tasks in a, broken record here, project management system so everyone can see the current status without a meeting. Nobody needs a meeting to answer where are we if the answer is already visible. This is actually one of my pet peeves. If I have someone on my team that does not update ClickUp to tell me when they're going to do something or if that status has moved, that is my nails on a chalkboard. Because if I have to ask, hey, when are you doing this? Like, I don't have to do it often. And when I do, it's like, we have a system here. So, thinking about how can we eliminate that entirely? If the bottleneck is, say, approval on routine client communications, you might improve it, optimize it, by batching your approvals. Or you might eliminate it by building a set of approved language templates so the approval step stops being required for standard messages entirely. And one more example. If the bottleneck is the onboarding questions a manager gets every time someone new joins the team, you might improve it by adding more office hours. Or you might eliminate it by one time building a real onboarding guide with frequently asked questions to the manager with a few maybe video screen captures included, so the questions don't need to be asked to the manager. The question to keep asking yourself is, am I still involved in this because I need to be or because we haven't decided I don't need to be? That distinction alone is worth a lot of hours back. And here's the counterpart to all this. There's a reason we don't ask this question enough. Sometimes the bottleneck is a conversation we don't want to have. Sometimes it's a budget decision. Sometimes the answer requires asking someone senior to step out of a process they like being in. As one director realized in a training I gave years ago, he raised his hand and said, I just realized I'm inserting myself into too many meetings, and people are either afraid to speak up or they're just waiting for me to make the decision. Yep. Optimization is easier. You can optimize without ruffling any feathers, which is exactly why we default to it. Question 3, why are we solving around it instead? This question is about honesty. Are we optimizing because the bottleneck is the boss and nobody's going to say that in a meeting? Are we optimizing because we paid $50,000 for a system and we don't think we can also afford the $7,000 in training to actually use it? So we're patching it with YouTube tutorials that somebody else created, not specific to our company, and hoping for the best? Are we optimizing because it feels like progress even when it isn't? I've seen all three. I've probably done all three. The goal of this question isn't to assign blame. It's to get really honest about whether the solution you're considering is real or if it's within the comfort zone. Because we tend to solve the problems that are safe to name, not the ones that are causing the actual damage. Now we move to the solution check. Once you've worked through the three questions and you've proposed a solution, run it through a final check before you commit. And ask these three things. Does this reduce or eliminate the bottleneck or conflict? If the answer is reduces, fine, keep going. If there's another path that eliminates it entirely, ask whether you're choosing reduces because it's genuinely the right call or just because it's easier. Ask yourself, does this eliminate downstream decisions? This is one of my favorite tests. Every time you add a process, a system, or a policy, ask, does this create fewer decisions or more? Moving to a project management system doesn't just help you see status. It removes the need for status messages, status follow-ups, and the decision of whether to follow up. You've eliminated a whole category of small decisions. That's the right direction. Next question. Does this protect capacity or energy? Energy counts as a resource. Your team's attention is finite. Your focus is finite. If the solution you've designed technically works, but requires your people to spend cognitive energy tracking it, managing it, or checking in on it, that cost matters. Account for it. So if all three answers aren't yes, it may not be a solution. It might be an improvement, and improvements are worth something, but they're not the same thing. And you don't want to stop at improvement and think you've solved it. Also, pilot everything. Call it a pilot. Run it for 30, 60, 90 days. Ask whether it worked. Calling it a pilot removes the anxiety that it has to succeed. It's just what you're testing right now. And after the pilot period, ask the question, did this work? And if not, why? Not every action is progress. I've watched teams implement things that made their situation worse. The pilot framing gives you permission to evaluate and adjust without it becoming a failure of character. And this applies everywhere. I want to be clear that this filter isn't just for work. It can be a filter for your health. If driving to the gym is your bottleneck, you can optimize it. You can find a gym that's slightly more conveniently located. You can pack your bag the night before. Or you can ask, what would remove this bottleneck entirely? If a 35-minute drive is the issue, a home gym eliminates the excuse. You lose the commute, transfer the membership cost to home equipment, and remove the friction entirely because you roll out of bed and go. You can even work out in your underwear. Meal planning, sleep, recovery, same questions. Where's the real bottleneck? What removes it entirely? Are you solving around it because the real answer requires a bigger change? You can apply this filter to commuting, to how you run your household, to how you manage your own calendar. The questions are the same. The order is the same. What's the real bottleneck? What removes it entirely? And why are we working around it? The Relentless Prioritization Filter is the framework at the center of The Right Things First, a pocket guide to relentless prioritization. And pocket guide is literal. It fits in your pocket. That's intentional. This isn't a 300-page business book you read once and shelve. It's a tool. It's meant to sit on your desk, get handed to a teammate, get included in a manager's onboarding kit. It's designed to be used repeatedly in real situations by real teams. And it includes a free audio that is a whopping 1 hour and 5 minutes long. It's available in packs of 10 or more, priced for organizations, teams, conference attendees, and groups who want to work from the same page. Literally. Next episode, we're going back into the book for another piece of the framework. In the meantime, if this landed for you, I'd love to know. Send me a message or share this with someone who's working harder than they should have because their team is solving around the wrong problem. Thanks for listening to the Health Powered Productivity Podcast. Show notes are included with links to everything mentioned today. Subscribe, leave a review, and pass this to someone on your team who needs it. Learn more about how we help teams at helloraterco.com.